Ian was once the most formidable mage in the entire empire, so powerful that even the emperor viewed him as a threat. Fearing his rising influence, the emperor resorted to poisoning him in a desperate attempt to eliminate him, but Ian wasn't without a contingency plan. Hidden in his robes was a dagger enchanted with forbidden time magic, his last gamble. As his strength faded, Ian summoned the final remnants of his mana and triggered the spell. Darkness engulfed him. One moment, he was a dying archmage, and the next, he opened his eyes as a young boy lying on a cold street. Yet, something was different. He retained all his knowledge and power as an 8th-Circle mage. He sat up abruptly, checking his chest, but the dagger was gone and there was no pain. Confused, he looked around only to hear a gentle, familiar voice calling to him. It was his mother, Vanessa Page. Her voice, soft and worried, struck him like lightning. She had died years ago in so how was she standing before him now? Overwhelmed, Ian grabbed her hand, the hand he hadn't held in decades, just to confirm if this was some kind of illusion or if the spell had truly worked. All around them were children lining up, soldiers from the capital maintaining order. He scanned his surroundings and spotted a familiar symbol fluttering in the wind, the flag of the ivory tower. Looking down at his smaller hands, Ian's breath caught in his throat. There was no mistaking it. He had traveled 30 years into the past. A vivid memory resurfaced, him standing nervously beside a mage during the mana reaction test. It was a mandatory rite for all 12-year-olds in the Green River Empire, designed to find future mages. The process checked for two key traits, the mana brain, which allowed one to perceive and manipulate mana, and the mana heart, which enabled mana generation and control. Children possessing both were admitted into the Magic Academy and were elevated to noble status upon graduation. Ian never truly believed the spell would work. The dagger, inscribed with ancient dragon script, had taken years of study and research to decode. He'd activated it seconds before death. He remembered Ragnar, his closest friend, someone he had once trusted deeply. Ian had killed thousands for Ragnar's sake, all in the name of loyalty. And yet Ragnar had betrayed him. Not this time. Ian swore to reclaim the power and influence he once had, to rewrite his fate from the ground up. He turned to his mother and told her he would return shortly. Then he made his way toward one of the castle knights. Introducing himself, the knight immediately recognized him as Vanessa's son and allowed him to pass. Inside the examination tent, a weary mage named Marco slumped in his chair, sighing as he told Captain Aaron that there were still hours worth of children left to assess. But as Ian stepped inside, Marco's tired face lit up. He sent a controlled pulse of mana toward Ian's head, warning him it might cause a brief dizziness. Ian hesitated. Marco smiled. He'd detected a mana brain and now had to check for a mana heart. Ian's youthful face, oddly mature and calm, struck Marco as unusual. The captain and nearby knight looked on in surprise. When Marco asked who taught him magic, Ian replied truthfully, no one had. Marco grew suspicious. He activated a truth detection spell that monitored a person's heartbeat and biological signals to spot lies. He warned Ian that lying to a mage could be considered treason. But Ian, composed and confident, assured him that he spoke only the truth. Marco's magic confirmed it, deepening his curiosity. Just who was this child? Suddenly, a woman's scream pierced the air. Ian rushed outside and froze. His mother was being manhandled by the same knight who'd let him pass earlier. She cried out, visibly terrified, as the knight accused her of wandering into restricted territory, labeling her a low-born peasant. Captain Aaron, Marco, and other knights rushed to the commotion. The knight tried to justify his actions, but Ian's rage flared. Just as he prepared to intervene, Marco placed a calming hand on his shoulder and stepped forward. Marco raised his voice, announcing that the boy had just been identified as having both a mana brain and mana heart. By imperial law, this elevated Ian and his family to noble status. To insult a noble, or worse, the kin of a mage, was an act of insubordination against the Empire and the Ivory Tower. He declared the knight's actions treasonous, an offense punishable by death. The knight dropped to his knees, instantly begging for forgiveness. But Ian didn't even spare him a glance. Instead, he turned to his mother and stated that the apology wasn't his to accept, it was hers. Ian crouched down to meet the knight's eye level and issued a quiet warning. He would be watching him, always. Later, Ian expressed his sincere thanks to Marco for stepping in when it mattered. Marco, sensing there was more to Ian than met the eye, gave a simple order to Captain Aaron: protect the boy and his mother, no matter what. Aaron nodded and escorted them to a nearby inn where the knights were stationed. As they walked away, Marco silently watched their silhouettes vanish into the distance. A chill crept down his spine. Ian wasn't just gifted, he was far beyond any child Marco had ever evaluated. The Ivory Tower and the Imperial Court would be shaken once they heard of this. That night, the same arrogant knight who had assaulted Vanessa wandered the streets, his pride still intact. With no remorse, he insulted Ian's mother once more, calling her a filthy commoner. But he wasn't alone. A figure cloaked in shadows trailed behind him, silent and deliberate. It was Ian. With a simple gesture, Ian cast a paralysis spell, freezing the knight mid-step. Calmly, he approached and whispered that he'd warned him. Fear crept into the knight's eyes. Ian's tone turned cold as he mocked the man, disgraced and brought low by the son of a so-called peasant. Then Ian spun a lie on the spot, claiming the knight had gotten drunk and fallen into the river. Without hesitation, Ian shoved him over the bridge's edge, sending him tumbling into the dark, raging waters below. Ian stood over the edge, unmoved, watching the man thrash and disappear beneath the current. As the water swallowed the knight, Ian reflected on the choices that had led to this moment. Years of studying Dragonian time magic, all to fix his mistakes, and yet he now understood some things couldn't be undone. To protect what mattered, he would do whatever it took, even if it meant carrying the burden of guilt. If the world resented him, so be it. He remembered the exact words Ragnar once used after poisoning him. Forgiveness isn't needed. Only now did Ian truly grasp what Ragnar had meant. Back at the inn, Ian sat silently, cradling his throbbing head. He hadn't realized that using so much mana would leave him this drained. His eyes wandered to his mother, peacefully sleeping beside him. The sight stirred emotions he hadn't felt in years. In his past life, she had died from illness the same year he achieved the rank of first-class mage. Now, all he wanted was more time, years of warmth and peace with her. He had lost everything once, but not this time. He wouldn't allow fate to repeat itself. Meanwhile, inside the royal palace, Emperor Terry summoned Master Herbert Leon for counsel. Herbert explained the basics of mana, how it was a natural force that, once understood, granted magical ability. Most children learned the fundamentals through training in the academy, but this boy, this Ian, had reportedly awakened his power without any teacher. Even more shocking, Herbert noted, Ian had performed first-class magic on his own, something only the mythical primal mage had done, a legendary figure who mastered sorcery when magic was still new to the world. Terry listened closely but remained skeptical. Herbert, however, was certain. If this boy existed, he wasn't merely gifted, he was dangerously advanced. Herbert requested permission to personally verify the claims. As the discussion ended, Emperor Terry summoned Crown Prince Hayden Greenriver. Hayden bowed politely and awaited orders. The Emperor reminded him that 5 years had passed since he last left the palace, his last mission being an inspection of the famine-stricken regions. This time, however, he had a different task. Terry entrusted Hayden with leadership of the Second Imperial Order, 300 soldiers, and 3 third-class mages. His mission? Go to Mogrian and bring back Ian Page. Though hesitant, Hayden ultimately agreed, especially after Terry hinted at assigning a partner to help him. Shortly after, Herbert requested to begin his journey as well. Time was critical. If he didn't act swiftly, he feared he wouldn't even have 3 reliable mages to support the prince. The Emperor laughed at Herbert's urgency, but gave his blessing. As Herbert exited the throne hall, a young slave approached him and asked if he was returning to the ivory tower. Herbert's expression darkened. "Not yet," he replied. "There's somewhere else I need to be first." The next morning, Ian sat quietly, deep in thought. By now, he was certain that both the Imperial family and the tower were already mobilizing. He thought back to Marco. Declaring him a mage immediately after the exam must have triggered reports to higher authorities. Whoever came for him, be it the Emperor himself, the Tower Master, or someone else, Ian knew one thing. This time, he would not be anyone's pawn.